we're having back to our program Steve Cachia, the Global Director in Business Development for Trade Help. He is going to speak about the Brazilian planting, all the data that he has on that, and yet the possibility of scarce soybeans and corn in Brazil in the next year, and the likeliness of importing from the US those two commodities. Right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. And stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe. Steve, tell us a little bit about trade help. You are starting with this new job post. Tell us about the company and your role there.
Hi, Luis. Hi, everybody. Well, Trade Help is basically a marketplace, a platform for physical commodities trading using the blockchain technology and artificial intelligence. The concept is to bring as many players as possible in a secure way, in a fast way, for them to be able to trade on a global base. So although this company, the startup, is based in the USA, in California, but the objective is to have either small or big players and also the service providers put together in one place to trade on an international, on a global level. Well, as regards the Brazilian market, perhaps some of you know, I spent 32 years down south in Brazil in agribusiness, in commodities, grains markets. The moment is very difficult for farmers. They are having some weather issues. Planting is quite delayed. For us to have an idea, up till last Friday, about 6% of the soybean crop has been planted on a national level, when usually at this time of the year you have around about 20% already planted. Corn, the corn planting is a bit better. We have about 50% of corn planted in Brazil at the moment, when usually normally have about 60%. The weather has been dry for these last weeks or even months in some areas. Technically speaking, there is still ample time for Brazilian farmers to plant safely, expecting good yields. The problem is that in Brazil, you all know, we have 2 or 3 crops per year. So if they plant soybeans late, then it could be that they won't be able to plant the second corn crop later on in 2021 in adequate time to have the potential of excellent or good yields. So the problem is actually not so much related to the yield potential of this year's soybean crop, but to the possibility of harvesting in time to get to the corn planting of 2021. As I said, the weather has been playing tricks in Brazil. We had some rains these last couple of days, last week, but obviously they were not sufficient for farmers to get back to their field work. Some are planting in dry conditions and expecting rain later on. There are some forecasts for good rains this week and even next weekend. But the thing is that there is a lot of speculation as regards the La Nina phenomena, and some are starting to get scared, not of the planting season, but of what will happen during the development stages of the crops, soybean and corn, in the next week, in the next months. So we are always trying to look ahead, and the risk is of Brazil not having 130 million ton plus crop as some are expecting because of adverse weather conditions. Obviously, we still have to wait and see, but one thing is sure, we won't see a lot of soybeans being harvested in Brazil as from the second fortnight of December. Most probably the harvesting season in Brazil will start early in January 2021, and obviously perhaps some exports will have to be moved forward because there won't be that much availability that was being thought until the beginning of the as from the beginning of the season. So that's the main problem at the moment.
Well, a lot of farmers have sold early this season, and about 60% of the Brazilian soybean crop, I should say, is committed. So how do you think that is going to play out in the next year? Because Brazil has already eliminated tariffs for both corn and soybeans outside of the Mercosur area. Right now, the U.S. corn or soybeans are not competitive at the Brazilian ports. But do you think that can potentially change by March or April?
Yes, by July 2020, most of our Brazilian farmers had already sold their 2020 crop, and we are still in October 2020. And as you said, more than half the 2021 crop, Brazilian crop, has already been sold, around 60% or something like that. This has never been seen before. It's first time we have such a high number of soybeans committed for next year, and Brazilian farmers are also trading their 2022 crop as we talk. This is mainly because the rate of exchange in Brazil is very favorable. Obviously, we had Chicago Mercantile Exchange quotes helping these last weeks, but we also have the Brazilian currency real, which is highly devalued, and that makes it favorable for farmers to sell in Brazilian currency. And at the moment, prices are at record levels, and so you have a situation where prices are at record levels. You have a situation where there is no stock either of corn or soybeans to be traded in Brazil. And last Friday, the Brazilian government decided to remove any tariffs for imports of corn, soybeans, soybean meal, and soya oil for imports outside the Mercosur region. So any imports into Brazil from anywhere in the world for these products, as from now on, have zero tariffs. But this is not for the whole season. This has been defined. This has been regulated up till the 31st of January for soybeans, soy complex, until March for the corn for corn imports. The expectations are that obviously once you have harvest coming in 2021, you will have more availability of soybeans and corn in the market, and that should pressure prices domestically. But as we said before, as you also rightly said, the situation in 2021 could be one that once again Brazil will have a shortage of corn and soybeans because forward sales are strong for both, and obviously we all know demand from China is very strong. So what does this mean? What does that mean? With zero tariffs, obviously, technically speaking, Brazil can import corn and soybeans from the US. But at the moment, although there is this huge shortage, price-wise, it is still it is still more favorable to buy from Brazil than to import from the US. All we need, though, is a bit of valuation of the Brazilian currency, real, and perhaps, yes, we could see some imports, especially corn for the northern region of Brazil, some imports occurring later on during the year, perhaps in the next coming weeks. We'll obviously have to see what kind of calculations, what kind of logistics, what kind of prices are in place. But the possibility, yes, is that Brazil will be importing soybeans and corn from the US in these coming months.
And what we expect for this week at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange? So what is the best upside for you?
Well, in my opinion, I think the market has absorbed the seasonal pressure that the American harvest season usually brings. The seasonal pressure the planting season in South America usually brings is also has been quite absorbed in the market, because we have the weather premium, the weather risk, which is supporting quotes, what's supporting prices at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And this morning, practically every day, we're hearing news that China is buying, that the US is selling, so this is also supporting prices. I believe that there is strong technical indications that on the whole, this week could be another one of higher prices. The trend could be for higher prices this week based on strong demand and the risk of not such a great crop in South America in the 2020-2021 season. What is worrying me is the financial part of the market, which is influenced by anything going around the world. The financials investors are quite protective at the moment. What is happening here in Europe as regards COVID-19 is quite scary because of the second wave. Many countries or cities here in Europe are going on a partial lockdown. Once again, the expectations of a V recovery in the world economy could be put on hold for the time being. And perhaps this moment where investors are less likely to risk because the markets are sensitive, the markets are not so optimistic, this could dampen a bit the prices. But if we look at the fundamentals, supply demand for corn, for soybeans, for wheat, well, the tendency seems to be quite bullish.
Well, Trade Help is a new partner of ConnectedFarmer, and Steve will be our frequent guest here as a result of that. And we hope you enjoy all the commentary from Steve Kaka. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Luis. Thank you, everyone.